My name is Claire Donovan. And on Thanksgiving night, my own family threw me out of the house like I was garbage. Not because I stole, not because I lied, because I exposed a secret they desperately wanted buried. Flushed heartbreak. I still remember standing in the freezing November rain holding a trash bag full of clothes while my father screamed, "You are not welcome in this family anymore." Then my mother slammed the door in my face. My little brother watched from the window. My sister smirked behind Dad's shoulder. And just like that, I became homeless on Thanksgiving. But less than 12 hours later, federal agents showed up at my parents' company. Bank accounts froze. Police cars arrived. Neighbors stared. And the same family who abandoned me publicly. By sunrise, they had lost absolutely everything. My name is Claire Donovan. I grew up in a wealthy suburb outside Chicago with my parents and my older sister Vanessa. From the outside, we looked like the perfect American family. Big house, holiday parties, matching Christmas pajamas. But inside our home, everything revolved around appearances. Especially for my father. Richard Donovan owned a construction company worth millions. He obsessed over reputation constantly. Perfect lawn, perfect family photos, perfect image. Meanwhile the truth inside our house looked completely different. Dad controlled everyone emotionally. Mom stayed silent to keep peace. Vanessa copied Dad because favoritism protected her. And me, I became the family disappointment. Not because I failed, because I questioned things. I noticed lies too easily. I asked uncomfortable questions. And people protecting secrets hate curious daughters. Growing up, Dad adored Vanessa. She looked exactly like him emotionally, ambitious, manipulative, image-obsessed. Meanwhile I studied journalism in college and cared more about truth than appearances. Dad hated that. He used to say, "People like you destroy families." No, people hiding things destroy families. I just hadn't realized how serious those things really were yet. At 24, after graduating college, I started helping part-time with administrative work at Dad's company while applying for reporting jobs. That's when I accidentally discovered financial documents that didn't make sense. Huge payments hidden under fake contractor names. Strange offshore transfers. Missing tax records. At first I assumed accounting mistakes. Then one evening I overheard Dad yelling privately at Vanessa inside his office. "If federal investigators connect this to me, we are finished." My stomach dropped instantly. Investigators. Finished. Something was very wrong. Over the next few weeks, I quietly gathered information. And what I discovered terrified me. Dad's company was involved in massive financial fraud. Fake construction invoices. Insurance scams. Illegal kickback payments. Millions of dollars hidden through shell companies. I couldn't sleep afterward, because suddenly I understood something horrifying. The luxurious life my family loved was partially built on crime. At first I tried convincing myself to stay quiet. But every time Dad bragged about hard work at dinner, I felt sick. Then Thanksgiving arrived, and honestly, part of me planned staying silent forever. Until dinner started, the entire family gathered around the giant dining table. Turkey, candles, expensive wine. Dad gave his usual speech about family loyalty. That phrase nearly made me laugh. Then Vanessa started mocking journalists during dinner. People exposing family business publicly are disgusting. Dad smirked proudly, and suddenly, something inside me snapped. Maybe exhaustion, maybe guilt, maybe years of watching lies poison everything around us. But before I could stop myself, I quietly said, "What if the family business is illegal?" The entire table froze. Complete silence. Dad stared at me slowly. "What did you say?" My heart pounded violently, but I couldn't pull the words back anymore. I found the offshore accounts. Mom dropped her fork instantly. Vanessa's face lost all color. Dad stood slowly from his chair. Not angry at first, terrified, which scared me more. I continued shaking. People could go to prison for this. Then Dad exploded. Absolutely exploded. He slammed both hands onto the table screaming, "You went through my private files." I stood too, now trembling. "You're committing fraud." Vanessa immediately jumped in defending him. "You're trying to destroy this family." That sentence broke something inside me emotionally. Because exposing wrongdoing somehow made me the villain, not the people committing crimes. Dad stormed toward me furious. "Do you understand what happens if this company collapses?" "Yes," I whispered. "The truth finally catches up." Wrong answer. Dad completely lost control after that. He pointed toward the front door screaming, "Get out." At first I thought he didn't mean it. Then Mom whispered shakily, "Richard." But Dad kept yelling, If she wants to betray this family, she can leave. I looked desperately toward Mom, hoping she'd stop him. She looked away. That hurt more than anything. Even Vanessa crossed her arms coldly. Nobody defended me, not one person, so I quietly walked upstairs, packed clothes into trash bags, and left while my own family continued Thanksgiving dinner downstairs. Nobody followed me outside, not even Mom. The freezing Chicago rain soaked through my jacket instantly. I sat in my old car crying so hard I could barely breathe. Homeless. On Thanksgiving. Because I refused protecting criminal secrets. That night I parked outside a cheap motel trying to decide what to do. Then around 2 a.m. my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something told me to answer. A woman introduced herself as a federal financial investigator. Apparently someone anonymously submitted evidence from my father's company weeks earlier. And after tracing internal access logs, they believed I might possess additional information. My blood ran cold, because I suddenly realized, Dad already suspected federal investigation before Thanksgiving. That's why he panicked so violently. The investigator spoke carefully. Miss Donovan, your father's company is under active investigation. I stared through my windshield silently while rain hit the glass. Then quietly I asked, what happens now? Her answer changed everything. That depends on whether you cooperate. I barely slept afterward, not because I feared losing my family. Because deep down, I already had. The next morning around 8 a.m., I drove back near our neighborhood needing closure somehow. That's when I saw them. Police cars, federal vehicles, news reporters, outside my father's company headquarters. Neighbors crowded sidewalks whispering. Employees stood outside crying while agents carried boxes of evidence through the building. My hands started shaking violently. Because despite everything, watching your family collapse still hurts. Then my phone exploded with calls. Mom, Vanessa, Dad, over and over. I answered none. Finally Mom left a voicemail sobbing. Please come home. Home. Interesting word after being thrown into the street. Then came Dad's voicemail. For the first time in my entire life. He sounded afraid. Not angry. Not powerful. Afraid. Claire, we need to talk. Need. Not want. Need. Because suddenly the daughter they discarded became useful again. By afternoon, bank accounts froze publicly. Dad's business partners vanished. Clients canceled contracts instantly. News spread terrifyingly fast online. The perfect Donovan family became local scandal headlines overnight. And Vanessa, the golden child who mocked me during Thanksgiving. Apparently Dad illegally transferred company funds into accounts under her name too. She became part of the investigation immediately. Everything collapsed within hours. Exactly the way lies eventually always do. That evening Mom finally found me at the motel. The second I opened the door, she burst into tears hugging me desperately. I'm sorry, she kept whispering. Again and again, I stood frozen, because part of me missed my mother horribly. And another part remembered her watching silently while I got thrown out into the rain. Eventually she admitted something heartbreaking. She knew Dad's finances looked suspicious for years. But staying quiet felt easier than risking the family lifestyle. That confession crushed me, because silence protects corruption, always. Then Mom whispered, I should have chosen you. I started crying instantly hearing those words. Not because they fixed anything. Because they came too late. Days later Dad got officially charged with multiple financial crimes. His empire disappeared almost overnight. The mansion sold, luxury cars repossessed, friends vanished. Turns out most people love wealth, not the people holding it. Vanessa blamed everyone except herself initially. But eventually reality broke through her denial too. For the first time ever, she apologized sincerely. Not for the fraud, for treating me like the enemy for speaking truth. And honestly, that mattered, more than she realized. Today I'm 29 years old. I work as an investigative journalist now, ironically enough. Mom and I rebuilt part of our relationship slowly. Very slowly. Vanessa too. Dad, he still writes letters occasionally from prison. Sometimes angry, sometimes regretful. But every Thanksgiving, I remember standing in that freezing rain holding trash bags while my family abandoned me for telling the truth. And strangely, I'm grateful now, because losing fake belonging forced me to build a real life instead. One based on honesty, not appearances. And that became worth more than everything my family lost combined. Families built on lies eventually collapse under the weight of truth. Protecting wrongdoing in the name of family loyalty only creates deeper destruction. And sometimes the person labeled the problem is actually the only honest person in the room. Truth may cost you comfort temporarily, but silence can cost you your soul forever. If this story touched your heart, thumbs up, like this video. Bell, subscribe for more emotional stories. Speech balloon, comment below. Would you expose your own family if you discovered something illegal? Flushed heartbreak.